So, what is next is basically working with audio, and where I have this sound, this polybass sound. I'm playing my keyboard right now, my synth, but you can't hear it. And the reason you can't hear it is because everything's correct here. So I have this going. I hope it is anyway. I have this going into input 2 of my audio interface, and I can't seem to hear it. And on the channel here, you can see at the top, input 2 is selected. And what I'm missing here is the fact that I need to put input monitoring on. So to hear this whilst I'm not recording, I need to put this guy on here, this I input monitoring, right? And you want to make sure that you're working with that. And now you can obviously hear that that bass. Hopefully you can hear that. So this bass is coming in at a good level. It's not like amazingly loud or anything. But when you've got input monitoring on, if you get your level correct, so that when on your peak level, you're somewhere between -12 and -16. So here, you can see I'm about -19 there. Now I can't really crank this much more from here. So let me just double check. All of those are up. Yep. Okay, so what I would need to do is I would need to go to the gain on my interface and just turn that up a little bit. Obviously, if you are using a microphone, you'd have to go and turn the gain up anyway. So I'm going to turn the gain up a little bit here by about 2 or 3 dB. Let's see if that's fine. Actually, I haven't changed it much, but that's because I'm a bit cheeky and I've put this into a preamp, and that kind of into an external preamp, and that kind of limits the level. But I want you guys to know that you should be working at levels of about -16 to -12. The point really of this is don't be like having your signal going into the red. Like try and even make it just barely touch like the yellow. This is good for gain staging for other plugins that you're going to put it into and stuff like that. You will see that some of these guys are coming out quite loud. Logic instruments tend to come out quite loud. Actually, that one's okay. I expected that to be a lot worse. Let's have a look at this one. Okay, so you can see that's like if I was actually recording that piano, that'd be quite loud. So what I would do is I would go to the sampler, which is the sound source in this situation, and I would probably drop that down by about that much at least. We appreciate good gain staging around here, so you know, make it happen if you can. So yeah, my bass isn't going to come in much louder than that, just because I've got it hooked up to an external preamp, and I'm a bit of a cheat. But one thing I will say is, if you remember when we were working before, we were going to preferences and we went to audio and we went to this general tab here. Now, against the other instruments, I might not be able to hear my bass sound very well when I'm recording it. And this is something I use when I'm working with vocalists all the time. So, you know, the typical vocalist is like, give me loads of vocals, give me loads of vocals. I want my vocals loud in my headphones. So what I will do is I will turn on independent monitoring level for record enabled channel strips. What this means is when this is record enabled, which is just a case of me just pressing that, I can turn up the volume, and then when it's not record enabled, I can just turn it down. right? So did you see that? So when I press it, it goes up. And when I don't, it goes down. So that means for the time that you're recording, you can at least monitor back, because you will hear back, obviously, the sound source on that specific channel at a higher level, like that, right? So I'm going to attempt to do something here. I need to get my bearings a little bit, but I'm not going to have that loud. No way. So let's just go here. Just a couple of dB louder whilst I'm recording it, and then I'll just drop it back into that level. One thing to remember is, like, if you have input monitoring on and you're playing against the track, you should be able to hear yourself whilst you're playing, just in audition mode, like, so you're not actually recording. But in this case, I can't. So I'm like, well, what's going on here? I thought I could hear myself. Oh, I can, but I can only hear myself when I'm stopped. So if you're not in record enable mode and you're playing along with just input monitoring on, I can hear myself, right? So input monitoring works when you're not playing. When you're not, as in when no playback is happening. I'm trying to explain it in the most clear way possible. And also when you are playing along, you can get your input monitoring, as in you can hear yourself playing back with the song. However, if record enable is on that channel, it kind of cancels out input monitoring. And there'll be various situations in which you will want to use it and which you won't want to use it, and so on and so forth. In this situation, I just need to be able to hear myself putting a bass line together whilst we are just having this little jam, basically. So let me just see what I can do here. No, let's go. Maybe I won't go there. Okay, so I'm just going to get in and record this. Now, because I'm going to be recording, it doesn't matter if input monitoring is on or off, because I'm actually going to be in record mode. So that just overrides the lot. Yeah, so I'm going to just stay on that note there. Okay, so I'm absolutely caning the outputs here. So here I've now got that, right? So I'm good. I'm good. Like that's okay. I mean, it's very, very simple, but it's okay. Which is cool. Now I'm okay with that performance. I'm going to keep that performance and I'm going to go over it. Now, you don't really get a merge mode when it comes to audio. It just automatically goes to those take folders. So with this, I'm going to go in one more time. I'm just going to go into record. Okay. I'm obviously recording on the wrong channel. See, I told you it was going to happen. I told you. I do this all the time. So here we go. Okay, so, you know, I've got a slightly different flavor there, slightly different feel there, but you can see I've now managed to get these take folders. So both of my takes are still there. There's take 1 and there's take 2. Let's say I preferred the first half of take 1 and the second half of take 2. Well, what I've done there is I've just swiped in take 1 and, you know, take 2 was already playing. So this is going to actually play through, create a comp for me, and I have 2 different takes there, right? Now, what I might want to do is just like, add a bit of sauce here as well. And so, like, I feel like it's cool and it works, but what I want to do in this instance is I want to just drop in and essentially do what we call a punch, right? And it doesn't physically mean punch the person, particularly if they're an instrumentalist and they're playing, great instruments on your song. Or punch yourself if you're the instrumentalist. But punch mode is something which many recording engineers will be familiar with. It basically allows you to just go through a song and just pick up one line or one bar or half a bar, whatever it is, and just for that specific point in the song, just punch that line in, so you override that line or you replace that line. And so remember when I started and I set up my toolbar here, I want you guys to just go into here and realize that what will happen is the song will play, and over this point here where this red kind of line thing is set up, it will actually allow you to do something else in that for just that point, right? So if you feel like you've got a good take on whatever and you just want to jump in for a certain part or whatever, then you can use auto punch. Now I'm going to show you how this works without actually showing you, without actually playing anything. So you have to press record, obviously, and then it will take you through it. So you can see what happened there, and if I'm working in take mode, that created a new take for me. And the reason I didn't Command Z, the reason I didn't play is because I didn't actually know what I was going to play. Just give me a second to figure that out. It's not too much of a problem here, but remember record mode. Oh yeah, always save your projects, by the way. So I'm just going to save it as that. So now that I've got audio, it's quite important that I've actually saved that project particularly, but it's just important to save anyway. So I'm going to go in here and I'm just going to try and find something to do. Okay, so obviously not the best lines I've ever played, but you can see there that I'm happy with that. Now I've got all of this, like, I want to kind of make sure that I'm working with, that and kind of like making sure that those notes are playing and that note is playing. And I can come out of auto punch mode there as well. One thing you might want to do, particularly if you've got like effects and stuff on, is work in low latency mode. Now I'm not going to put reverb on my bass because that's not what you do. But low latency here, if you remember when we talked about buffer size, and if you do have to have a bigger buffer size, you can use low latency, and you might not hear things like reverbs and delays and stuff like that on your song as you're playing back. But low latency allows you to essentially record or track with the least latency possible, because Logic kind of works out what is not needed for that specific instrument, and other instruments and stuff as well. So it's kind of a good idea to have that if you are struggling and having problems with latency. Make sure you do that. And I'm going to leave that on just because it's a nice dark orange color. What I would say here is, obviously if you're happy with this, then cool. And obviously I'm not happy with that. Like, that sounds bad. Okay. And so, sometimes when I'm in the studio, I'm like, do you know what? Let's just start everything again. I could go in, I could delete all of that, but you can use a mode, which is replace mode. Now, replace is a destroyer. So when you press record with replace, it destroys everything that came before it. And well, in this case, it didn't do that because it's on on the setting, which is, where is it, recording? Yeah, audio. Audio cycle on, no, that's replace region erase. So that's for MIDI only, my bad. That's for MIDI only. But you can erase a whole region if you feel like, oh no, I just want to start again or whatever. In replace mode on MIDI. I forgot that it doesn't work on audio. I thought I was working in a different DAW for a second there, because I work on a few different ones. But in MIDI, obviously what this will do is, instead of doing any takes or any merging or anything like that, replace mode will wipe away whatever's there. Which you can see it's already done over there when I put that in. And you kind of want to be careful. If you do have that in your control bar, you want to be careful that you don't accidentally press it, because that will be big trouble. So yeah, like I would go back in and basically like do this a few times until I got it right and I felt like I was happy with that. And essentially, like when you're working in this way, you can also, let's say, just to show you as an example, I can also go in here and I can go to my preferences, audio, and recording, and I can take this and change this into a take folder. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to play like another section, and I'm just going to jam around that a couple of times. And with cycle on, I want to create a take folder as well. So record, that's fine. So I've already got this take from before. Let's see. Okay, so I'm going to create a new section, essentially. I'm just going to do something here. And now you can see that I've got this same situation that I had with my audio, but in my MIDI. So I can go, okay, well, you know, like I want to take that, or I want to take that, in either or, depending on what you're trying to do. You can have different takes of these regions. When you're working and you're happy, as a really, really quick thing, when you're working with your takes and you're happy, let's say I was happy with that second take, what I would do is I would just go here and I would go to flatten, and that would do that for me. And here, let's say I'm happy with this one, and I would go there and I would go to flatten, and that would do that for me as well. So now I have just the takes that I've wanted or selected. In the case of audio, I could have comped that. And, you know, like particularly if you're recording vocals or guitars or, you know, whatever, and you're doing something a lot more intricate than what I've done, which is quite basic, you're going to want to work with understanding how comping works and all of that kind of stuff. And you know what, I'll be able to do a session on that for sure. But you get that result with take folders and working with take folders as well. So I'm going to just join these all together, join that together, join that together, and I'm just going to repeat that region, and hopefully it landed where it should have. Yes, it did. So when you are recording, there's a few different things that you need to take care of, obviously. And there's a few different modes, and there's just those little things that you're going to want to look out for, things like input monitoring, record enable, take folders, auto punch, you know, all of that kind of stuff. And further to that, much of the stuff you do will obviously be based on the actual recordings that you're doing, diving into comping if you're recording lots of different takes and you know, all of that kind of stuff, going in, editing if you're working obviously with MIDI information in software instruments, and going in and editing all of that kind of stuff